Today we're going to make a carbon fiber plate. It's going to go on the cajon, which is a musical instrument that you play. You can't see, but there's actually a 18 by 24 glass plate there, and then a little bit larger mirror. It's usually very easy, except that one usually breaks, but it's $11 and they're straight. Very easy way to make a carbon fiber plate. We're going to come in at about a 1.5 millimeter. We're going to use 5.7 ounce 12. 6K is what it is. We're going to use a mixture of two different epoxies. A high temperature for strength and hardness most likely, and importantly. And we're going to use a regular UV, very clear on the top surface. So anyway, the whole show starts with 2 plates. This is one way that you can sort of, I don't want to say cheat the system, but you don't have to vacuum bag this to squeeze out stuff. Very straight. You get an extremely straight plate when you sandwich this. The idea is release agent on this and on that. Then we lay, I have not discovered just quite yet, but I'm going to think about 4 layers of the 5.7 ounce 12. And then when you're done with that, flip this thing over to here, a couple of heat lamps on top to cure it at about 200-250 degrees. Anyway, let's get started. And the plates are now treated with release agent. Ready to go. Got the resin mixed. I'm not going to degas it this time. Instead, yeah, well, I could. I have the chambers and stuff up there, but instead of do that, to save a little bit of time, I'm just interested in the top layer, so I'm just going to use this little trick here. You can use that. You put a layer of resin down first, and then before you put the cloth down, hit it with a heat gun, and that will really quick take out the little bubbles that you don't really want in there. So anyway, now we're just waiting for it to completely dry, and then we'll apply the layers. So here we are ready to lay down the first layers. It's a big thick here being the first layer. I mixed the epoxy to have about 3-hour working time. Make sure that when the hair gets in there, just to take them out unless you want to look at those, which I don't particularly want to do. So the first thing we need to figure out is the average size. Now there's a lot of different ways to do this. I'm making an 18 by 19 plate. So we're going to go up to about here. Another pesky hair. Normally the epoxy is not this molasses like, but a couple of things. It's cold in the garage, and it is a high temperature epoxy, which typically does operate at a thicker viscosity, but that's okay, because what we'll do is treat it with a heat gun, which will also help that. So let's take a look at where we're at. I think we're good. Matter of fact, it is so thick that it will probably push up through the first 3 of the 4 layers, which is pretty cool. A lot of air bubbles in there. That's why I'm filming constantly, so you can see how this works. Another pesky hair. I mean, you don't have to take them out. Some people think, yeah, it's kind of cool to look at a frozen hair in time. Just not me. Not so much. But when you do a lot of these projects, you, well, I shouldn't say you, that's generalized. Me, I buy the cheap brushes from Harbor Freight, and they're really not good for anything. They really are not. Other than perhaps spread epoxy on your carbon fiber projects. So you can see there's still quite a bit of hair in there, but that's all right. We can make them go away. So obviously you don't want to break the plastic, or glass rather. Even though glass is, well, high temperature, it is not tempered, meaning that if you heat one part up more than the other, well, it will break. And it is by many, well, myself included, considered a disposable item when you are using it as two membranes to sandwich carbon fiber in between. It really is that. You plan on it breaking. If it lasts, great. You see that we got a couple more hairs here we need to take care of. Have a void here. Oops. Took care of that. And this. And we had a non-saturated part here. It really is a marvelous tool, a heat gun. You can use it for so many things. Another way you can do this if you don't have a heat gun, I don't like that method as much, is you can do this chemically. All it's about is breaking the surface tension, and you do that several ways. With heat, as you see here, or you can use acetone in a spray bottle that you then just well, hit it with. The problem is you are essentially, for a brief moment, thinning it out. Looks like we got another offender over here. And there we go. Heat works really well. I mean, it's always the same, just don't overdo it. You can kind of see it pop. Whenever they don't pop no more, just move along. Do you have to do this? No, absolutely not. But the more that you do this, the less air bubbles will you see that you obligated, well, feel that you obligated to sand out. which is like, well, I think sanding is somewhat therapeutic, but I don't see a reason to need to do more than you, well, really should. All right, so there you have it. Now time for the first cloth. Sorry about the instant water heater. I guess somebody is taking a shower or so. But you get the drift here. Now you carefully can go ahead and get rid of whatever air bubbles that you have. One way that you can do this is hold the fabric. But this, yeah, this is not going to work. The resin is too thick. Use a little spoon here or stick as a squeegee. Very, very careful. Did I say careful? Be very, very careful with it. It's a bit too thick for that, so we'll just use it the old-fashioned way where you just use your hands, massage it out. That always works. There you have it. I'm going to use a squeegee here and see if I can get some more of it out. But I will check back with you in just a second. And here we are with all 4 layers. And the back's just going to be the inside towards the drum, the snare, so it doesn't have to be very pretty there. You just want to press it down, make sure it's generally level. And so now we're going to put some heat onto it and hopefully have a plate in the morning. See you soon. And then it is time to see if we can, well, break the mold without blowing up the glass. A couple of things here. Use these. You will be messing with glass that may break. Use these. It's not a joke. When this breaks or shatters, well, it's quite violent and you want to protect yourself. So on with that. The glass plate here is considered a consumable item. It's just the way. I mean, $10 for a piece of glass to make this mold is a lot easier than store a professional made mold. For somebody like me who does this twice a year, maybe once a year even. So the tools of the trade, popsicle sticks. You can see that they are carefully thinned out towards the end. A stir stick as well. The whole idea is you start working yourself in as careful as you can, giving it plenty of time for it to release. I also have a couple of spatulas here that I use to get things started with. That's typically how it starts here. And we'll see how far we get before that something breaks. The cracking that you hear is, well, not the glass. It's actually the release agent that's doing its job. And this thing is starting to, well, release. We'll see how far we get. And then it's just a matter of trying to work in here. It may work. You can see it's starting to peel. I'm not sure if the camera can see that. Maybe if I do this. You kind of see it running a little bit, the releasing as it happens. Just give it time, let it work itself, and all of a sudden it'll spring off. Because once the glass breaks, you have a mess on your hand, but there you have it. Set it back up here and continue the operation. Go to the other side, or not. And no. Let it just work itself out. Once you get the, well, something underneath, you can usually try to get other things underneath, and at some point you realize that this is becoming a losing battle, and then you just you just start breaking it, and there you can hear it popping. It's not the glass, it is the release agent again doing its job. I'm not concerned about needing to reuse the glass. It's just once you break it, it really does make a mess that you then otherwise have to clean up. And glass is strong, but it can only take so much, and then, well, it'll pop. So it looks like we're at a, well, still doing it. You can see it running up there. So still going. Kind of amazing I've gotten this far. Usually I don't get this far. So I'm encouraged. When it goes with a bang. So be ready. Fresh set of undies and all. We're about a quarter way. Oh, it's the first glass, and there it goes. So, all right. That is to be expected. Trash can is ready. All right. That wasn't bad though. Many times when it breaks, it goes kaboom. A little bit more like that, but even more violent. So Big pieces like that don't bother me at all. Just again, be careful. It is glass. And that's a tough spot to be in. It's kind of hard to get a grip under it now. This will be sanded down anyway. That'll be towards the snare parts in the cajon. And if you want to, if you have, you can always vacuum stuff a little bit. We'll start from the other side. We're getting somewhere over here. Amazing, actually. We are almost there. Actually, about there. This is the only part missing. It's creeping. And there is the rest. So about 3 pieces, which is pretty dang nice. There you have it. Now we got to break it from the other side. But first, what I want to do is do a little vacuuming. Now that is off, so now we got to dislodge it from the other side. See what temperature we're down to. We'll let it cool down and stabilize before we pull it. See you in a bit. So the top one was sanded just a little bit. These are just small indentations of air bubbles that was trapped. That's going to be inward towards the snare section anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and get it free from the plate. You want to be just, well, as usual, very careful. This one here particularly, because this is, well, that's going to be the part that you're going to be seeing. I prefer to use one of these little devices here to get in and underneath to get it released, and then you can get started with something else. Going pretty good, actually. There you have it. One carbon fiber plate on the back side. Actually looking pretty dang good. Just peel off the release agent if you can, wherever it's left. Gonna be perfect, I think. All right, we'll drill some holes. There you have it. This is how to make a carbon fiber plate. So a few takeaways here. There are many different ways to do this. I don't claim mine is better than anybody else. I've tried them all. I've built molds, I built pressure molds, I built vacuum molds, and they are all fantastic. They do a good job. They just take a lot of effort, financial stuff. For here, this glass plate will be reused next time, and I mean, for $11 on consumables, that's really not a bad thing to have. And we now have a new Cajon soundboard. We'll see how it sounds. See you later. Time to do a cutting. I use a saw like that. Go nice and easy. Let the saw blade do its job. This is not something you need to do fast. It'll cut. All right, 3/4 there. Here's the carbon fiber plate that it's replacing. This is a 2.5 millimeter plate that I made when I made my carbon fiber cajon. Nice and crisp, because it's very, very stiff, 2.5 millimeter thick. This is the new one that's been drilled. It's 1.75 millimeter, about almost 2 millimeters. We'll see how they sound.